Show. Hello, everybody out there in Radio Land. Thank you for tuning into The Divide. You are listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We are here in your ear having the conversations that you need to hear. You are listening to the conservative voice of New York State, Marcus C. Williams. I am here. We are the #1 conservative talk show in all of New York. Let's make it all of the United States. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you. Make sure that if you're listening to us online, hit the share button, hit the retweet button, get this message out there. It don't cost you nothing. We are here in your ear having the conversations about the important things that are going on in our nation and locally here in Rochester, New York. So we've got a large number of different things to talk about. We had a great, very impactful week over the last week or so. And so many things have been happening back to back to back. And it's like, wow. So if you're online right now, hit the share button, hit the like button, get this message out to everybody. Share it in group, share it on your page, share it everywhere you can. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with a couple of local things over here in Rochester where I am. And then we'll go to the state and the international. National and international. You know what, matter of fact, let's start somewhere else. Let's start with this redistricting stuff in Texas. You know, that's where I want to start today. So the redistricting in Texas, I guess the Texas apportionment of different seats and stuff like that for Congress, they're looking to go back through and they're trying to reorganize how that's done. So we've got all of these Democrats that are in and across the country that are mad. And they're like, oh, well, you can't do that because that'll give you more seats and that'll give you more power. And I'm like, hold on, Democrats, what are you talking about? I live in New York State, and in New York State, everything is gerrymandered out the wazoo. Every single district in this whole state is crazy gerrymandered. I have there's one of our local, well, not my congressperson, but there's a congressperson that borders my district, and her district is like through like 6 counties. And it's like a squiggly, warbly line. It's all crazy. Like, how is that a district? How is that a congressional district? So the Democrats did that when they were trying to make sure that they had less Republicans, because our state really is a very deep red state, except for the fact of these certain very blue areas. So that's something that we don't have a conversation about, being that we're New York State, because everybody thinks us as being very blue. It just so happens that we have the House and we have the Senate, the House being the state assembly. And we have them and they're all blue. Why? Because our state is very gerrymandered. If you look at our state apportionment as far as physical territory and stuff like that is, Republicans should have most of the seats, you know, because most of the voting is outweighed in most of the places. So, but that's not happening here because of the redistricting that we had right here in New York State. And now they're trying to redistrict again in New York State. So they're trying to redistrict my Supreme Court seat, and they're making it so that it's only essentially my county area. You know, which is fine if that's what you were going to do for other counties and stuff like that. But what it is the judge seats for the state level Supreme Court. Most of those tend to end up being actually Republicans. Because why? Because they cover enough territory that, like I said, New York State is largely red. It's just these very certain cities and large metropolitan areas in which Democrats have all the power because they have the outweighted registrations there. And it's not just that they have the outweighted registrations, it's that those people are actually voting that way. Man, that smoke is really coming in here bad. You know, we got all these forest fires. We'll talk about that in a moment too. But yeah, so we've got all of this insanity where they're talking about, oh, well, in Texas, we're just going to abdicate our duty to our representatives, and we're going to go to Chicago, and we're going to stay and hide out in Chicago. So right now, Governor Abbott of Texas is trying to get them to come back. They're supposed to be back today. Otherwise, they're facing fines and possibly jail time. I remember they tried to do this last year, I believe it was, and he had to send the marshals to go get them, or maybe it was the Rangers. I think it's the marshals, the Texas Marshals. But whatever, he had to send them to go get them. Like, that's crazy. Like, you don't want the legislature to do their job, and because you can't get your way, you're throwing a temper tantrum and you're not coming to work. Like, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. You're saying that it's okay not to go to work for the people because you're supposed to be representatives, right? So you're supposed to be going out there and serving the people, and you don't want to come to work? That's crazy. That's a serious problem. And then we see that they're like, oh, well, we're not going back because we're opposed to what they're trying to do. Excuse me, you got into office to actually represent the people, and you're abdicating your duty, right? That's what you're doing. You're running away. So you're running away. You're running to a whole nother state that you don't even serve as a representative in. Why don't you just move there? You know, so these are the serious conversations we need to have. Why are the Texas legislators in Chicago right now? Take your behind back home. Go do your job. So what? You're not going to get your way. Big woof. I don't see them running away here. All the Republicans running away here from our state doing stuff because they are not going to get their way. Like, what big little children that are trying to disrupt our government? And then we wonder why we got all these crazy people out in the middle of the streets talking about, death to America. There's no solution but to globalize the intifada revolution, and all of this other nonsense. Because look at how our representatives that are in office are actually behaving. Now, I take that to my representative who's in my district for Congress, which is Joe Morelli, and he put out some post the other day talking about, oh, we need health care for illegal aliens, some nonsense. I'm like, dude, have you lost your mind? We need money for illegal aliens, this, that, and the third, da 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 da. Bro, who are you supposed to be representing? You're supposed to be my representative. When you get elected, let's be very clear what happens when you get elected to be a representative in this government, right? Like, I'm not just talking state level, I'm talking federal level, I'm talking local level. The way that it is you represent the citizens in that district, not whoever else is a foreigner that's not a citizen, not people that have green cards because they can't vote. You represent these citizens. That's who you represent. Okay? And you daggone sure out of everybody don't represent no illegal aliens. So can we have this serious conversation? And I think it's very, very important that we actually start talking about these things, because people don't want to talk about them. Like, how these people are behaving in their jobs are exactly what we see as a reflection in reality in everyday life. They're misbehaving on their jobs as our elected officials. And then you wonder why people misbehave outside. You wonder why the kids are bad in school. You wonder why all of these people got all of this nonsense marching through the streets over dumb stuff, you know, because they're being taught by our elected officials that it's okay to act up, pitch a fit, and throw a tantrum if you don't get your way. Is that what we're doing in our nation right now? Is that where we've come as a country? I'm not okay with it. And I don't believe that anybody that is a citizen should be okay with it. Listen, if the Democrats are going to be mad at redistricting, I need you to go look at California. I need you to come look at the New York lines, talking about you're mad that Texas is going to reapportion districts. How you mad? You gerrymandered everything all up the wazoo where I live because you got power here. And let me be very clear, you guys. The gerrymandering is so bad in New York State, it goes down to the city and the county levels as well. And because we're such a Democrat heavy area, we've got a lot of Democrat officials. So in the county, when they went to go redraw the county maps last year, they got mad and they wanted it the way that they wanted. Okay. And then a couple years before that, they were like, oh, we want the districts this way, that way, and the third, da, 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 da. And they got other Democrats that are mad about them, about the way that they did the reapportionment of the districts. So this is very, very serious. This is Democrat versus Democrat right here in my area, okay, which is a Democrat heavy area. You understand what I'm saying? Like the the county legislature where I live is run by Democrats. They got the county ledge seat for the county executive. They've got both the vice presidency and the president of the legislature. So what they've got the majority in the legislature. So who is there to go against them, right? Not really, not nobody of nobody. So this is a serious conversation that we need to be having and we need to be talking about. Hit that like button, hit the share button, get this message out there. Also, we are working to raise $25 to $50 an episode so that we can keep the show going. And, airtime isn't free, so please donate whatever you can. If you can donate $10 or $25, that's awesome. Okay, if you can donate more, do. You can do it on Cash App, $MW Real, the number one. That's $MW. $MW Real, the number one. That's a digit one. Okay, or you can do it on PayPal and Venmo, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. So at Marcus C. Williams, you can donate there to keep the show going. So this is crazy because we've got a bunch of elected officials on all types of level of government that are out here acting crazy, right? They're acting like spoiled, petulant children. Now, is that any way for our elected officials to be? And then they get mad and they'll say, oh, well, does somebody have the credentials to do this job? First of all, there are no credentials outside of being a citizen and in certain cases, age for an elected position. Used to be where most judges didn't need to be an actual lawyer either, because you shouldn't, because the law should be able to be adjudicated in such an even manner that anybody with reasonable sense should be able to do it. But the bar took over all of that and they changed the laws. If you look at Congress and everything, most of the people in there are lawyers, which is a whole nother conversation, which is a problem in and of itself. That's its own problem. But it's also how you know that they're all in it together, because they all work for the best interests of each other. And that's a very, very, very strong rebuke that I have for all of Congress. But more so, especially for these people that are out here acting like big babies. Now, let's get into some other stuff. We've got in my city, we just the other night, there was a big car chase because there were some weapons involved. And then the police, where I live, the police can't really chase anybody. So we've got a no chase order in Rochester where I live. So the police can't chase anybody unless there's a weapon involved, unless they're the suspect of a very serious offense with a weapon involved. And there's some other regulations that go along with that. So they were chasing these people and then they backed off, I guess, for whatever reason. I don't know. It got too hectic. It got too busy, whatever the case is. So then they end up catching up with the people and the people bailed out of the car, right? So come to find out, the kids are like 9 and 10 years old. I think one was like 9 and the other was like 12 maybe, but one was 9. You understand what I'm saying? Like these children that stole these cars. Now, why is this stuff going on? This is happening right here in my city. Why is this going on? You got to ask yourself. It goes back to legislation. This is because of the raise the age laws, which prohibit anybody under 18 from going to actual jail. So that's a very serious problem. And everything doesn't go to regular court. It all goes to family court, and family court records are sealed. So they can commit 90 million crimes. And it's always like it's their first offense. So these are very serious problems right off the bat. So what happens is we've got bill reform also, or cashless bill, as you might know it where you are, where anybody can get out of jail for basically no money, for nothing, even if they've had multiple issues and multiple offenses and stuff like that. So what does that teach the youth, right? So that teaches the youth that they can do whatever they want, that they can get away with anything, that they can go ahead, they can rob, steal, cheat, murder, do all types of other crazy, insane stuff, carjacking and stuff like that. And there will be no punishment. And there will be no punishment. It's a very serious problem. June, I see your comment there. Give me 1 second. We'll get this going on soon. So yeah, it's a very serious problem that's going on. And if you guys want to be part of the conversation, drop a comment in the comments. I'll do my best to pop it up on screen and we can share in this conversation together, because these are the important conversations we all need to be having. So hit the share button, hit the like button, okay? And if you're on X, hit retweet. It don't cost you nothing. All right, let's see what June's talking about. June says, have I been on WXXI Connections? No, I haven't been on WXXI Connections. Now, you guys, if you're watching me and you're not local, I'm running for Rochester City Council. Okay, so it's an at-large position. I'm on the ballot. I'll be on the conservative line this November 4th. And if you're in the city, it doesn't matter what party you are, you can vote for me. So, shameless plug, vote Marcus C. Williams for Rochester City Council. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, whatever, you can vote for me on November 4th in the general election. Now, June asked, have I been on WXXI Connections? Because, well, they always interview all of the candidates and stuff like that. But because I'm a Republican, because I'm conservative, they haven't even given me a call. They haven't even given me the time of day. They haven't had me on the show. And now in New York State, and I believe this might even be a federal law, that you're supposed to have equal time for candidates. They don't have equal time. There needs to be a lawsuit against that. You know what I'm saying? They've been on all of these other news programs and stuff like that. They interviewed them 3 times on WXXI on Connections. They haven't interviewed me once. So this is a problem. Before, their excuse was, oh, well, it's the primary, so it's only the Democrats, so we should only talk to them, which is bogus, right? Because now you're giving people more name recognition earlier on, so people have more time to become familiar with them. That is an unfair advantage. And these are free airtime things. Like, these aren't like, oh, somebody's paying for the spots or whatever the case is. So thank you, June, for asking. Maybe you can call them and tell them that they should reach out to me to have me on. You know what I'm saying? But this is part of the problem. Man, maybe you should reach out to Bob Lonsberry to encourage him to have me on as well. So these are these important conversations of how the media is very skewed because we are in a Democrat heavy and very many of these people are very far left in this area. Now, it's one thing to be that way, and it's another thing to be what you would consider to be even when it comes to actually talking to candidates and so forth like that. That in and of itself is a very big issue. But we'll come back to the election and stuff. I won't go over some other stuff, June, but you guys hit the share button, hit the like button, get this out there. Don't cost you nothing. So here in Rochester, with all of the crime and stuff like this, like I just said, we had a 9 and a 12-year-old involved in a carjacking, right? Like in a carjacking, and nobody said nothing. It didn't make the newspaper. The mayor didn't say nothing. The city council didn't say nothing. It shows you exactly that they don't care about us at all. This is how they care about us. This is their level of concern for us. So it's a very, very serious problem. I don't think that any of this should go unaddressed. Let me say it like that, right? Because I got some other words and none of them are very nice and kind and should not be put on the internet or the radio probably. But it's very clear that they don't care about us at all. You mean to tell me that you got a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old that are getting arrested for armed carjacking and nobody's going to say nothing? Nobody's got nothing to say. They act like it never happened. How serious are things that you can act like that's not important? That should have been front page news on every single newspaper. Okay, that should have been the #1 news thing on the news at night. How did that not even make the news? A 9-year-old and a 12-year-old have an armed car robbery and they steal a car and they lead the police on a police chase. Okay, armed, right? Because again, the police can't chase people if there are no weapons involved. So this is serious. But where is city council? They got anything to say about that? No, nothing. Okay, we got a whole bunch of people, different people been shot, stabbed, murdered over the last week. They had anything to say about it? Nothing. Nothing. You know, the last week, I don't know probably Thursday. I want to say it was Thursday. It might have been Wednesday. This guy got shot, right? And because he was in an engagement with the police. So he ended up getting shot because he had a firearm. We'll talk about that in a couple of moments here. But that was on the news. The city council released a statement on that. They said, oh, it's the police are terrible. This is what city council said. Mary Lupien, Stanley Martin, and Kim Smith. They said, oh, man, RPD, they're terrible. This, that, and the third. Look at how horrible they are. They just shoot people dead in the streets. So the guy had been accused of breaking into cars and trying to actually get it carjack somebody that was in a car. And also there was some other stuff about apparently he had tried to go in somebody's house or something like that, all types of crazy stuff. So I know that there's more there to that story. I'd also like to find out if he had a record and what his record looked like, because this probably wasn't his first rodeo. It's unfortunate anybody had to die, but like I said, city council had something to say about that. But the night before that, somebody was murdered. Did city council did they have anything to say about that person that was murdered? No, they didn't say nothing. They didn't say boo. They didn't put out a press release. You know how many people we have murdered? We have people murdered like once a week here. Like easy. Our population is only like 180,000. Like we got a lot of people dying and they're like, oh, well, it's down year over year from the gross high that was like 2022 or whatever the case is. It's down from the high. I don't want to be down from the high. I want to be low to the low. You understand what I'm saying? I want to be on the lowest low when it comes to murders in our city, not the lowest high. Like what nonsense is that? That still puts us up way higher than we've been historically. Like, is that okay? Like, is that something that we have to deal with? We shouldn't have to deal with that nonsense. But these are the conversations that we can't have because our city council doesn't even want to address it. We had a 10-year-old boy shot up inside his house. Like they just sprayed his whole house. It only hit the 10-year-old boy and it missed his mother and his other family members. But I mean, thank the Lord for that. But still, a 10-year-old boy was shot. Did they have the decency to say anything about that? And we've had multiple homes shot up. We've had listen, this year alone, I can recall, right? Like this isn't even the stuff that I don't know about, but I can recall at least 5 events in which homes were shot into this year. Thankfully, most of them, nobody was injured. However, we do have like the issue that we had last year where this old guy, he's an old gentleman, retired guy. Okay. He was in his house and they were shooting up the neighborhood and they shot into his house and he died. He was dead. They shot a mother last year also. Do you think city council, and these are the same people on city council since then, you think any of them had anything to say about that? No, nothing. Zero, zilch. Ugh. It's just disgusting. It's just disgusting. But this shows you again how much our elected officials here actually care about us and the fact that we don't matter to them at all. But you guys matter to me, and that's why I'm running. That's why I do this show, so we can have those important conversations that we need to have. June, I see you commented there also again. Let me see what you got going on. June says, please message me. I can help you with that, perhaps by writing in on your behalf. I used to be a reporter. You should be heard there. Thank you very much, June. I appreciate you. Thank you. And then June says, completely agree. Thanks, June. Yeah, so these are serious issues that continue to go unaddressed. You know, why aren't they addressed? We've got crime out the wazoo, which they tell us the crime doesn't exist. These are serious problems. But our elected officials continue to not address anything. And that's why I'm running for Rochester City Council. So in November, if you live in Rochester, vote for me. I'll be on the conservative line. Anybody can vote for me, no matter what their party is. Okay, whether you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, you can vote for me. I'll be on the conservative line. Just check my name. And if you guys want to help with my campaign, you can volunteer or donate on my website, Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus4Rochester.com. Okay, let's get back into it. Let's talk about some other stuff. So Angola is an African nation, right? And Angola has kicked all of the Chinese out of Angola. You're like, wait, Marcus, why did they kick all of the Chinese out of Angola? Well, because they're saying that they're exploiting them for their minerals, they're having unfair practices, and they're actually enslaving their people. So that's very, very serious. Very serious. And it's crazy. But this is what's happening in Africa with China. China is a very, very serious threat. They are not a near competitor with us or whatever else anybody wants to call them. They are an enemy. They are not our friend. Okay, they are an enemy. They have declared open warfare against us. And that's why we see all these cyber attacks coming from China. That's why we see these monetary attacks coming from China. That's why we see these agro warfare attacks coming from China. And you'll say, Marcus, what's agro warfare? I've never heard of that. So you can call it eco terrorism and stuff like that, whatever you want to call it, because that's what it is. It's eco terrorism that China's inflicted upon us. How do you think all of those lionfish got in the water in Florida and in the South? Okay, that's where the lionfish came from. How do we got all of these Chinese fish all up in New York State eating up everything? Okay, how did that happen? They're putting these things there, and people don't even see it because they're too. How would you say it? It's an uncommon thought process as far as war, but the Bible tells us about it. It said, when you sleep, the enemy came and sowed weeds amongst your seeds. So people need to understand that that is not an unheard of concept of warfare. They put all these lantern bugs in New York State. Where you think those came from that are eating up all the crops? Okay, you got the murder hornets in California, the Chinese murder hornets. Where you think they came from? You know? So these are things that we need to have a conversation about. Then we have all types of invasive plants that have been brought here by the Chinese and put in to really do damage. There's a couple years ago, you might remember it or you might not, and you can go look it up. Like I like to say, don't believe me because I'm saying it, believe me because I'm telling you. And go look it up. Go look it up. So a couple years ago, they were sending all of these seeds all across America. And you would just get them randomly. I got one, as a matter of fact, a package of seeds. And the government, the FBI and the EPA and the agri minister, whatever you call that, was the Department of Agriculture. They were all like, don't throw those seeds away. Don't plant them, burn them with fire, because they're invasive species. So this shows you the level of cunning and guile that the Chinese have. So right now, what's going on over in Angola, I'm not mad that they kicked all of the Chinese nationals out. Good. I think all of the countries in Africa should kick the Chinese nationals out. They're exploiting Africa. Okay. And then they're trying to interbreed with the Africans and force convert them slowly to Chinese culture and stuff like that. Now, if you know anything about Chinese, they don't like dark-skinned people at all. At all. They don't even like dark-skinned Chinese, and they definitely don't like Africans. So this is a thing. You can go, again, don't believe me because I'm saying it, believe me because I'm telling you, go look it up. Like this is not like something that's fabricated. So they don't like dark-skinned people. So what are they doing interbreeding with them? Because they're being given money from the government to interbreed with these people to try to worm their way as far as genetics go into Africa so that they can say that this is part of ours and we should be able to get in the country. Essentially, the interbreeding is used to breed out the people and to easily incept your way of life and your spies into any type of government or place. It's a tradition that's been done across the world, and sometimes even by force. So this is something that we need to not think is unfamiliar, but it's something that actually happens, But I think that what's happened lately is a lot of people have this sterilized view of not just history, but a sterilized view of what war is. They're like, oh, well, hospitals and kids shouldn't be killed in warfare. Is war, right? What are you talking about? That's not what we want to happen, but that is what happens in warfare. Those are things that happen. You don't want the enemy to be able to recover. Why would you not blow up their hospitals? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the conversations we need to have. So when you hear that Hamas is building shelters and they're taking up in hospitals and stuff like that, and Israel has to go into the hospitals or blow the hospitals up or the schools up or whatever the case is, because there's been a number of cases where that's happened. Okay. Don't say that, oh, well, that's not happening. It happens. It happens because they know that those are targets that are not likely to be hit. But Israel don't give a flying monkey's uncle. Israel blow up everything. They'll lay waste to everything and everyone. Israel just does not care. So, but they do that because they know it's less likely to be attacked. They know there's going to be less likely to be serious oversight. They know that it's going to be less likely it'll be more likely that people feel sorry for them if they attack a hospital or a school or something like that, because it's a bad look, right? It's a bad look. But then we got this again. This is a sterilized concept of warfare. Oh, no children should die in war. No children. Who made these rules? Like, that's not how warfare works. I don't think any children should really be on the front lines. But to say that no children should die in war, like, that's not a realistic concept of how war works. Like, this is a serious thing that we have, and this is why we have all these people over here, and they're like, why can't you just hug everybody and love people? Because that's not real life. People are innately self-interested and self-centered and about themselves, and they will do whatever they can to scrape and claw to the top. There are those of us who have been what you call socialized, and we've developed this concept that, oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't always put myself first. Maybe I should actually also see about it helping out the interests of others, because, sometimes that's important too, and it'll help me as an individual get closer to the goals that I want to achieve. So these are the conversations we don't have now, but we really, really should. And it's because of this sterilized concept of what's going on in the world that we don't even talk about these things. And people are so disconnected. I'll give you an example. They had these crazy people go over there, and Greta Thunberg actually did the same thing too. They went over to supposedly going over to Gaza in these little rinky-dink like sea trawlers, right? Like, it's like some small teeny old boat. Like, what are you going to go over there? What aid are you going to render? Stop playing in my face. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, oh, well, we've got peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and bags of Doritos for these people. What? How many people? What people? Stop playing in my face. But again, this concept gets out to the public and they're like, oh, well, look, they're doing good. No, they're not doing good. They're in the way. You want to do good. That's not how you do it, because you ain't really helping nobody. You're causing problems. And the whole intention of that was to cause problems. They're like, oh, we want to cause problems because we want to bring attention to this stuff. You guys, you can't fall for the flim flam. A lot of this stuff that we see both nationally and internationally is nothing but theatrics in theater. Again, the same way that we see what happened in Texas with their representatives running away to Chicago so that they don't have to vote. So now Governor Abbott is talking about, well, we might have to take these people and remove them from office. And apparently now he's threatening the Democrats with bribery charges because they're trying to stall the Texas vote. 100%, that's nothing but bribery. That's complete bribery. You're saying, well, extortion, You're saying if you don't do what we want, we're not going to come so you can do the work of the people. So right now, there aren't enough people there to actually pass any of the laws or legislation, whether it's public works or anything. So that's a very, very, very shocking and serious situation. But again, it's this concept that you can pitch a fit and act up, and then stuff is still going to go your way, because that's what they figure. Because they see people acting up and then they see them get their way, and that's why they do it. It goes back to the 9 and the 12-year-old that were just in a car chase with the police. Why do they do it? Because they see that other people can get away with it. They see that you can do whatever you want and there's no consequences. It's a very, very serious situation. So now, with that being said, we need to talk about a lot of these laws that are being put in place all across our nation, but especially in Europe. So what they're doing is, and they've started this, I want to say it was Texas and maybe it was Florida. There's a couple of states. And what's happened is they're I'm using air quotes if you're on the radio, they're banning pornography. Okay. Now, they're not banning pornography. They're not doing that at all. But they're now requiring you to submit your ID online so that they can know, and I'm using air quotes on know that you're not a underage individual. So it sounds good on paper. But what it is it's their way of starting to get you comfortable with submitting your ID online for everything so that they can build a complete online profile of you for the government. So that way, if you decide that you want to start speaking out, they'll shut you down. They'll shut you down. They'll freeze your bank accounts. They'll make it so that you're not able to post online or anything. We saw this type of activity during COVID, okay, to a lower extent where they would blacklist people, shadow ban people. I'm shadow banned on a couple of my accounts still yet, you know? So this stuff is very, very serious, and we need to have these important conversations because now they're like, oh, well, it's about pornography. It's not about pornography. It's not. Look at what's happening in England right now and in the rest of Europe. They've put in these and they call it privacy, so it's a complete misnomer. It's a lie. They call them privacy regulations in regard to that, where you have to put your ID in. But it's not just for that. It's for other websites as well. It's for Facebook, it's for Instagram, it's for Snapchat, all of these things as well. So they want your ID on everything. This is dangerous and it's not good. And I hope more people start to stand up. And I know that they're selling it to you like it's a good thing, but that's what always happens. They say, when the second that the government tells you something is for your own safety, you tell them go kick rocks. Okay, the government doesn't care about your safety. The government has never cared about your safety. The government only cares about empowering itself, giving itself more power over you. And we need to be very, very concerned about that. Real quick, you guys, you're listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams here on WRFZ 106.3 FM. We're here every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. So make sure you tune in, tell your friends, your family, and even your enemies, and that guy up the street, tune in Mondays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. on WRFZ 106.3 FM. Now, if you guys would like to help sponsor the show, please donate. You can donate as an individual. If you are a business, please reach out. We can work something out. Go on my, you can do PayPal. We're working to raise $25 to $50 an episode so that we can keep it going because airtime's not free. You can do $MW Real, the number one. That's $MW Real 1. And you can donate there $10, $25, whatever you can. It all helps a lot. Or you can donate on PayPal and Venmo, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. So PayPal and Venmo, that's at Marcus C. Williams. We also have givesendgo.com/Marcus C. Williams. You can donate there as well. Now, back to it. With everything going on in the world right now, we have seen many people mad at Trump about his different issues and everything that he's got going on. But more than that, one of the biggest things that people have been against Trump have been on these tariffs, right? So the tariffs mostly are all in place now. But what happened running and leading up to the tariffs, right? So, and I say this not to be like, oh yeah, Trump is the best thing since sliced bread, because that's a lot of people out there like that. Okay, I support policies. Doesn't matter who's got the good policies or whose policies it is that I agree with. I support them when they got good policies. I've always been saying tariffs forever. I've been very big on tariffs. I've been very big on the trade deficit forever. Okay. But these tariffs are helping. They're helping. They helped us make trade deals with almost every single nation that we are a major trading partner with. You know, Trump just went over to Scotland, okay, and he was doing a opening of a golf course in memory of his mother. And he had a meeting while he was over there with, what's her name? Oh my goodness, her name is slipping out of my head. But the lady that's the head of the European Union, Ursula or something like that. Ursula I forget her name. I'll figure it out. But anyway, he was having a conversation with her, and she caved on the trade deal with the U.S. and it was very favorable for the trade for the U.S. They're like, yeah, we're not going to tariff the U.S. at all. And the U.S. is like, yeah, we're still giving you 15% tariffs or whatever it is. I think 10% on certain things and whatever the case is, but we're still tariffing them just lower than what we would have. And now we've got, essentially, we can just trade with them for free. And we got a number of other items that we didn't used to be able to send over there and put out there that we now can. So tariffs aren't having the negative impact on the economy like people thought they were going to. They said, oh, it's going to cripple and hurt everything. And that's not happened. We've got deals with the United Kingdom. Okay. So those are all our major trading partners there. We got deals with Mexico on top of the USMC, which we already have. Okay, which we do need to renegotiate that also, but we got trade deals with Mexico. Canada's like, we're not going to do a trade deal with you because they got Mark Carney in there right now. And you'll be like, oh, well, Canada's so important or whatever. Mark Carney used to be the chairperson, or was it president? Anyway, he used to be the head of the BIS, the Bank of International Settlement. If you don't know what the Bank of International Settlement is, bro, when you're talking about big bad, if you think that Bill Gates is bad or George Soros is bad, or there are Masons or the Illuminati or whoever controls everything, listen, if you think any of those things or even more, that the elites are all in control of everything, the BIS is the big evil, okay? They are monsters of everything. They are the problem with what's going on with the world's economy. Okay, the Bank of International Settlement. And he used to be the head of them. He used to be one of the governors of the Bank of Canada. This is very serious. Like, that guy is super trash. Like, he's an elitist, super piece of garbage. So he said he's not doing any trade deals with Trump, but he's going to set all the forests on fire so he can smoke us out, putting more carbon in the air than would be released in like 1,000 years. So he didn't say that part, you know what I'm saying? He didn't say that part, but that's clearly what's happening because of, yep, I see Colleen on there. Colleen said he's Mr. WEF. Yep, he is Mr. World Economic Forum. He is a horrible, horrible person. You know, and our Canadian neighbor to the north that we used to think was all fun and giggles and our best friend and so nice. We had an impression, like in my lifetime, the impression was that Canada is so nice and so sweet and so pleasant and everything. But we always forget that Canadians are war criminals, like actual war criminals. We have the Geneva Convention because Canada's war crimes. Look into that. We need to look into that. That needs to be taught more often, that Canadians are war criminals. So that's why we have the Geneva Convention, pretty much, because of people like Canada. But what's going on in Canada right now with people like Mike Carney involved, and this is something that's important that I have to explain to you as my fellow Americans. The way that it works in Canada, Canada is not a representative republic like we are here in the US. The way it works there is they elect their different ministers and stuff like that. And then the ministers select who to put in charge and be the prime minister. That's how that works. So they don't even have a say in who prime minister is, really, because they just vote for one party. And then that party, essentially, if they get enough seats, they get in the person that they want. So that's something that's very, very important to talk about. Drop a comment in the comments, be part of the conversation. I'll try to pop you up and get you on stage and we can talk about it. So what's going on in Canada is complete authoritarianism right now. And I'll highlight that by this point of what just happened last week to Sean Fetch. Okay, I might be saying his name wrong. But anyway, he's over there in Canada. He's a Christian gospel singer. So he does praise and worship. Okay, so that's what he does. He's a harmless guy, you know? He just does praise and worship. So he's in Canada. He's got a tour, I believe is 5 or 7 different locations that they had. And he's like, yeah, we're doing these. They had the concert halls and everything was all the venues were done up. And the places outside, they had the permitting and everything for everything. The government shut them down. They said, you can't do a Christian worship. Said, you can't do that. So then they tried to put it inside a church. And what happened in the church? Well, the police went into the church in Canada and they said, you can't even do praise and worship here because it's a concert. So you can't do it. But it's not a concert. And if you look at it, you look at the people, because there's videos out there. You can go find the videos. If you look at the videos of the amount of people out there, there weren't like a ton of people. Like, it wasn't like it was somebody was going to go see like Drake, who's also Canadian. Can't stand him. Separate conversation. Anyway, but it's not like they were going out to see Drake or somebody. Like, it was a very small, for me, a small number of people. You know what I'm saying? That were at the church that he was trying to do the worship service in. And that's crazy. Canada's out here just shutting down Christians left and right. If you say something, you can't even silently pray in your head. Like, it's all of these crazy things. Like, it's a complete authoritarian government right now in Canada. They shut off. There's a matter of fact, I believe August 14th, the case where the Canadian government shut down all of these people's bank accounts because they sent money to the truckers that were having a peaceful protest in Ontario. Excuse me, not in Ontario, in Quebec. Okay. Is it? Yeah. Quebec is their capital, right? Toronto's capital? No, Toronto's the capital. Ontario. I was right. Anyway, so they were there doing a peaceful protest, and some people were trying to give them money. And like, you're talking about people from all the way on the other side of the country, people that are in Alberta or British Columbia, sent them like $5, and they're shutting down people's bank accounts over that. Okay. They were going to these people's houses and killing their pets, like killing their pets. Like, this isn't like something that, again, go look it up. Like, again, don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I am telling you. Okay. Because I'm out here telling you actively. It's not just something I'm saying into the wind, you know? So these are things that actually happen there in Canada. So on the 14th, there's a court case that's coming up against that. I hope that the people win that, because that's terrible. But we also saw a similar thing here in the US, where the banks were giving the FBI and all of these people everybody's bank transactions that were in DC on the 6th of January without them, I'm using air quotes, without them even requesting it. How you do that? How you do that? How you get like that? So again, we've got this authoritarian creep of government that's coming in that we really need to be alarmed about, but not enough people are concerned about. Not enough at all. But anyway, Sean is going to come here to Rochester, where I live. He'll be here Friday. They're doing like a little like march or whatever to encourage people to come to it. Starts at 5. The actual festivities and singing and worship starts at 7, and that'll be at Parcel 5 here in Rochester, New York, if you are in this area. So, but I want to talk about this government overreach more, and like the stuff that they're doing in Canada. Like, they're killing the elders up there. Like, that's a whole thing that they're doing. They're murdering the elders. So they've got this euthanasia. They call it euthanasia because it sounds better than eldercide or murder, you know, where they tell you, oh, well, if you're sick or you're old or whatever, you can just X yourself out for no reason. That's not okay. That shows that they have no concern for life and there's no sanctity of life in them, you know. Or you see they've got it for the wide range of abortion up there, you know. And now in New York State, talking about that complete disrespect for life, we've got eldercide here. Now the elders can just X themselves out because, you know, they're a burden on our economy. They are a stretch on our services. And why should they even bother breathing, right? Like, that's despicable to me. That's despicable. But we also live in a state that has late-term abortion, up to birth abortion. So that's where we live in New York State. So it's terribly tragic, but this is what's happening here. And we need to actually identify it and call this stuff out. Now, next year, Canada's starting it with the teens. So they're starting to euthanize the teens, you know, and that's a problem. That's a serious problem. So the way that they're saying it is it's going to be any teens with mental health issues, okay, or that are going through emotional distress. Is that not every teen? You guys, if you're listening to this, you probably were a teenager at some point, unless you're like 12 and listening to this show. And if you're 12 and listening to the show, more power to you. You stay tuned and hope I can encourage you. But this is serious. Like, they want to get rid of teenagers. Like, oh, well, if you just have emotional issues or whatever, you know how many teenagers are on different type of antipsychotics or depression medicine, or what do you call the other ones? They've got a ton of different things that they've got, but all of these different drugs in New York State. So sooner or later, that's going to be a thing that comes out, and they're going to try to push that right here. That's not cool. We can't be doing that. That's not acceptable. So we have to understand that the sanctity of life is very important, but that's why they don't want Christians to be able to speak up. That's why they don't want us to say anything. That's why they don't want us to do anything. And it's crazy. But the Muslims could do whatever they want. The Jews can do whatever they want. But when it's Christians, it's a problem. We can't say or do anything. Now, I'll give you this example. I want to say it's Minnesota. It might have been Michigan. Okay. But again, look it up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. It's crazy. So there was this mosque there, or religious cultural group, right, that are for Muslims, right? And this guy had raped this 12-year-old. So the guy got charged with rape. Now, I guess he's Somalian Muslim or whatever the case is. And they're like, oh, well, you should not punish him so harshly because of the cultural differences. The cultural differences? He raped a 12-year-old. What are you even talking about? So you're saying that because he's Muslim, the cultural difference is there, or that Muslims can have sex with 12-year-olds that are not of the age to give consent? That in this case, and as far as I understand, and you correct me if you have this information, it wasn't a statutory rape charge. It was an actual rape charge. So this is very serious. Share this video. Share it to more people. Hit the like button, hit the share button, comment. It don't cost you nothing. And definitely join in the conversation. Drop a comment and we'll try to pop it up so you can be part of the conversation. So this is a very serious situation. So they're like, yeah, because he's Muslim, you should understand that there's a cultural difference, and where he's from, that is okay in their culture. To rape 12-year-olds is okay with their culture? How is that acceptable to anybody? That's not acceptable. Like, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but rape is wrong, right? Like, seriously? Like, but apparently this is what we need to say in this country right now, because there are these people that are okay with it. But can we have that conversation? You know, it's very, 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 very upsetting what's going on. And it's concerning that more people don't talk about it, but it shows exactly how much they prioritize everybody else except Christians. That's why I encourage you, if you're a Christian, you need to take a stance. Okay, you need to stand up, because what's going on in our country is absolutely not okay. And the more that Christians are silent, the more that the insanity continues to grow. So we have to stand up, and we have to push back, and we have to say no more of this insanity. We're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to go for it. It's not okay. And we're not having any of it. So in other news and stuff that's going on in the world, Trump got rid of the head of the Department of Labor Statistics. Now, you say, oh, well, he's just doing that to cook the books or whatever. Well, no, hold on. So this was a lady that cooked the books when Kamala Harris was running. So I did a big thing about this when it happened originally. Like, the numbers were like hundreds of thousands of more jobs that they said that had been created that hadn't even been created. So the lady just outright lied, you know, like, but it made the Biden-Harris administration look better. So they did it to gain clout. That type of person should not be in government. They should not be in government, not even a little bit. That was a very serious problem, and it's not okay. And now people are like, oh, Trump just tried to get rid of her. It's all about political stuff. Let me ask you guys a question, right? Isn't everything political? Everything is political. From your toilet at home going flush to them picking up the trash, okay? That is political. Every single thing, every aspect of your life is political. Me talking on the airwaves right now, that's the FCC. It's political. You understand what I'm saying? You know, driving down the road, the police pull you over. That right there is also, okay, that is also political. Everything is political. So when people tell you, oh, we can't talk about that because that's political or whatever, everything is political. The cats needing to be neutered on the street, which is a whole separate conversation. There's a big problem with feral cats that we have here in Rochester. And also somehow rats all of a sudden. Like, there's this conversation, and I don't know this to be true. I mean, it's unverifiable to me. I see somebody just comment. I'll put it up there. So what it is there's this rat problem in Rochester now. So I've heard people say that they think that they're just letting the rats out. Somebody's out there letting rats out in certain neighborhoods. It's very interesting. Now, I do know that rats breed fast, okay, and can take over a lot of stuff really quickly, but it is very, very, very questionable. what's going on with those rats. Anyway, let's try to see this this somebody said something. Colleen says something. Colleen says, because Canada was our friend, most still are. Justin Trudeau, not his daddy. If you guys don't know about Justin Trudeau, his dad, people say that nobody really knows who his dad is, that his dad is Fidel Castro, because his mom spent a lot of time over there with Castro, and then she was all of a sudden pregnant. So that's a whole separate conversation, and he kind of looks like him or whatever the case is. Anyway, I don't have evidence to back that up, but that is a thing. Anyway, so his Justin Trudeau, not his daddy, Pierre's son. Together, we're strong. Ottawa, Ontario is the nation's capital of Canada. The same nightmare as our DC. Okay, so Ottawa is the capital. That's why I was thinking it is in Quebec then. Okay, so I'm not a crazy person. See, I told you guys I know what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's see. We got another comment. Colleen says national. She's just fixing what she said. Anyway, back to the conversation. Okay. It's really serious what we're seeing going on right now. It really, really, really is serious. And honestly, if we don't start standing up now, I know like we've got all these Democrats that are like, oh, Trump is the worst in the history of the universe. Okay, fine. If that's what you really believe, okay, but these are the same people that want to give more power to the government. How? How, bro? How do you want to give more power to the government? You talking about the government is bad, right? So then stop trying to give more power to the government. That is mind-boggling. And they're like, oh, well, they're gonna institute martial law, and you want to give more power to the federal government? Like, you sound dumb. Like, why would you want that? Like, listen to what you're really saying. It's beyond me. It's completely beyond me. I don't understand how people think like that. Like, that's without all reason. And if you guys have followed me for some time, I've been talking about our role in America as going towards the authoritarianism that I so far have seen for my lifetime. Like, and I'm not that old. So we continue to see and become more authoritarian every single day. And it made it much worse after 9/11 when they put in the Patriot Act, which I want them to repeal the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act needs to be repealed. Also, the TSA got to go. But now you don't have to take your shoes off at the TSA, so that's okay. Do you know that the TSA has never stopped one terrorist act? That's a whole separate conversation for another video. But these are important things, you know, like national security is very important to me. You guys hear me talk about it regularly. Okay, speaking of which, we just put 2 nuclear powered submarines over by Russia, apparently. You mean we didn't have 2 nuclear powered submarines over by Russia already? I don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, get back to that in a minute. But these are the important conversations we need to have. National defense is important, but the continued creep of authoritarianism by our government, both local, state, and federal, I should say, so all 3, is very, very, very serious. People that are encouraging you to empower the government even more are problematic. They are the problem. Okay? You know, people call them brown nosers, or they'll say, call people all types of trope names like, what do you call them? I don't know how it's escaping my head right now. Uncle Tom's and stuff like this and stuff like that. But the whole time, these same people are saying that we need to empower the government more. Like, that's crazy. We talked about some things earlier about how the government is expanding its surveillance and operational power against the American citizens. So now we're seeing it even more, where now we've got Palantir. Apparently the guy from Palantir is apparently a descendant of slaves, which I didn't know. He looked white as snow, and I thought he was a South African because he's a billionaire and he runs with billionaire white South Africans. Maybe he's also South African, but apparently he's also got some Black American in him. So that's weird and crazy. But anyway, Palantir is taking over the government. Okay, they're going to be doing all of the government surveillance, networking everything together with their AI so that they can spy on you all the time. And Trump's right along with it. Okay, and I'm not a fan of that at all. Now, I don't know if Trump is not aware of it, if he's been sold that it's an okay thing or whatever the case is, but I'm absolutely against it, 100%. Then we see this push for cryptocurrency, okay? Please, y'all, please stop letting them play in your face about these cryptocurrencies, okay? It's all a push to push national, okay, central bank digital currency. It's about CBDC. They want you to have digital money because they control the energy and they control the internet, okay? The government controls the internet and they control the power. So if they shut off one or the other, you don't have no money. We used to have these things, and I think they still exist, but we used to have these things that were called, they got rid of them over the last couple of years, were called, what were they called? Wallets, Bitcoin wallets, cryptocurrency wallets, where you can have your actual coins offline. But now what we've got is we got a whole bunch of online digital stock exchange, nonsense, trash, okay, where really it's more of an investment vehicle than it is actually owning it, right? Like it's owning shares in a company. It's not like actually owning it. You might own it, somebody else is holding it for you, you know, as like maybe you want to say, oh, well, they're holding it similar to how they used to hold gold when the dollar was backed by gold. No, they're not. Again, it's all digital. It's all digital. And who runs everything all digital? The government. You guys, you got to wake up. You got to be smarter than that. Okay. The government, again, has nothing to do with your best interest. And that's why I always encourage people to get involved, especially locally, where you can make an actual change, where you can actually start getting a difference made. Now, if we were to talk about all of the crazy stuff that's going on in the federal government right now, it would be a 3-4 hour show, just what's going on in the last week. We've had a number of positive things, like I said, with the tariffs coming on, because all of the countries complied, right? Like if the Democrats wouldn't have been stopping them to begin with, trying to stop them to begin with, we would have been had these trade deals. Everything would have been worked out. Okay. And again, it doesn't matter whether you love this dude or hate this dude or Orange Man bad or whatever the case is. It don't matter. The fact is the end result is very positive. And now we have all of these. So I need to talk to you about this. This is important, and I need you guys to understand this. So now we have a quasi-sovereign wealth fund, right? So what's a sovereign wealth fund? It's essentially like a, what would you say? A Roth account, right? Like, but for the government. And if you don't know what a Roth account is, go look it up. You need a Roth IRA if you don't have one. I can't give you financial advice, but you need one of them. I'm trying to tell you now, you better go look into it. Okay. But here's the deal. What it is essentially is it's an investment vehicle by the government that's for the American people and for our benefits. The money that goes into there is supposed to be invested directly into our country. And then the government is able to grow more money for more investment into our country. So what's happening is all of these different people we're making trade deals with and stuff like that, they're also putting money into our sovereign wealth fund. Okay. So that's awesome. That's amazing. And what happens is the money that they put into our sovereign wealth fund. And again, it's not quite a sovereign wealth fund because it's foreign money. It's a whole separate conversation. But anyway, it's a good deal for us. So what it is we take 90% of the profit off of that money and they get 10% of the profit. First off, that's honestly not that bad a deal. If you're investing billions and billions of dollars into a foreign country. Because if you look at places like that are these Middle Eastern places, like what's Dubai in? The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. I think it's Bahrain too. It might be Bahrain also, where they have it where you have to partner with nationals of that country, and the nationals have to own the majority of the company that you're putting there. So that way they keep the money in-house mostly. So it doesn't go out. It doesn't get all over the place. They don't send a lot of the money away. So it's a really good idea. It's a really good idea. And now Trump's talking about there might be possible disbursements from that money that comes in. Now, from what he said, and I need a breakdown of this completely, but I don't have it at this point because I'd love to share more details. But the money that's coming in from the tariffs are going to go to an actual sovereign wealth fund, okay, which will be invested into the United States. And that sovereign wealth fund, the money that it generates, he says that we might even get dividends as citizens. So we might get dividends checks as citizens. Now, if you guys don't know what that is or what's going on with something like that, Alaska has a similar thing, right? Because they made a deal back in the day with the oil companies where they have to pay them so much because their land is pristine up there. So everybody in Alaska gets a check every year from the oil companies. So a little piece of the pie, so that's important. So I want a piece of the pie of our country also, you know what I'm saying? So that's important. But I'm very excited about that. And I think that that's something that people need to talk more about. Now, there's a ton more that we could talk about and go into in that specific aspect. But the more investment that we have in our country, the better for us as citizens. Now, will it outweightly benefit some people that are more developers and building stuff and stuff like that? Probably. But that just means that we need to step our game up here as citizens, We got all these foreigners over here doing all this stuff and things like that. And when I say foreigners, I'm just talking about people from foreign countries, right? That are over here legally in general. Okay. But there are all these foreigners over here that have businesses, have investments in businesses, and they're doing all types of extra benefit for themselves or whatever the case is. And they're living high off the hog of the Americans. And what are we getting from it? Nothing, because we need to own more of what we build and what we buy in America. We shouldn't be buying all of this stuff from China. China is one of the notable countries that we do not have a solid trade deal with yet, but it's being worked out. But China's a piece of crap. Okay, I'm gonna say that again and again and again until it starts to get through people's head. Canada's a piece of crap also. Not Canada as a nation, but Canada as their government. China, again, not as a nation, but honestly, China mostly as a nation. Mostly as a nation. People try to separate and say, oh, well, it's not all of China. It's just the CCP. Who runs the country? The CCP. Who has run the country for a generation? The CCP. Okay. Who is in charge of all the indoctrination and teaching the Chinese people to look down upon Americans and hate other people and stuff like that and do stuff like they were doing in Africa? And that's why they got kicked out of Angola and what we talked about earlier. So all of these things like that, it's China. I'm not making a distinction. It's all of China. Okay. Some individuals, not so much, but it's all of China, and pray for the Hong Kongers that are still trying to resist the tyranny of and oppression of the Chinese government. So these are very important conversations that we need to have. Please share this video, get this message out to more people, and let's have these important conversations. And you can always drop a comment below, and I'll do my best to pop your comment up on screen, and we can talk about whatever you got going on. Let's see what we got. Somebody just made a comment. Colleen said, no, Ottawa is in the Ontario province. Montreal is the province of Quebec. Same country. Basic knowledge of geography and history and North American history should not be a mystery. LOL. Colleen, you're fun. I love you. Yeah. I just really don't like them people that much. I'm still mad at the War of 1812. If you guys don't know what happened in the War of 1812, the Canadians came down and they burnt down the White House and burnt down DC. I still want get back from them. So there's that. So I was right both ways, but wrong both ways at the same time, Colleen. Okay. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. You're awesome. Okay. So anyway. But yeah. Speaking of mad at people, Mexico too. Still mad at Mexico. Okay, we ran down to Mexico and and look this up because you guys, I know a lot of people don't know the history of Mexico and the U.S. We ran down to Mexico. We went in there. We went into Mexico City, and we should have kept Mexico. When we took Mexico City, we should have kept Mexico. Okay, a full stop because we should have. Now they're all acting up, but they're getting better. We'll see what Shannon Baum or whatever her name is, the Jewish lady that's in control of Mexico now. We'll see what's up with her because she was acting all froggish and now she's being more in line with what we need her to be. So I don't know. She's a shell for the cartels anyway. I don't mess with her at all. You know that they killed like 130 competitors against her to run for president in Mexico during the last election. Like 130 competitors were murdered by the cartels. She wasn't even in the running, and then automatically she pulled out of nowhere and she won the presidency. Man, you sell somebody else that lie, I'm not buying it. You don't think that they put her in there? We know they put her in there. And these are the type of conversations we need to have, because there's a lot of that type of stuff that goes on with governments all across the country and across the world. Okay. Not just murder and assassinations, but we look at what happened in what's Tom Walls. He's in Minnesota, right? Yeah. Or wherever he is. I don't remember. But anyway, so the lady that was in charge of the legislature there, I believe she was in the House, which is, excuse me, I should say the state legislature, right? Like their version of the assembly where we are. And they assassinated her. And they tried to assassinate the other Democrat that was in the Senate that voted for the bill that was essentially the budget for the state. And they said, oh, well, it was in favor of Republicans. So that's why they went out and they were assassinated. So that happened right here in the United States under Tim Walz's nose. And then the guy that did it said that Tim Walz told him to do it. And then he's got all types of dirty connections with Tim Walz. So that's a whole separate conversation. We've never heard anything back about that. There's no conversation with that. It's very interesting. There needs to be a conversation about that. But, that'll probably never actually come out. So we've got another issue I want to talk about while we got a little bit of time left here. Okay, so hit the like, hit the share button. If you're watching online, definitely retweet it, share it to some groups, share it to your pages, and hit the like or the heart button, drop a comment. Okay, you guys, please donate to the show. We're working to raise $25 to $50 an episode. You can donate on PayPal. It's $MW Real, the number one. That's the digit one. That's $MW Real, the number one. Or you can donate on Venmo or PayPal. You can do it at Marcus C. Williams. It's Venmo or PayPal. You can do at Marcus C. Williams. You can donate right there. Donate whatever you can, $10, $25, or even a whole $50. Whatever you can helps us get more airtime, because airtime is not free. And we're working on getting another time slot as well. So please do help. And if you have a business and your business wants to sponsor the show, okay, let us know. Now, back to the brass tacks. Now, over the last week, we also had this very interesting situation. There was this guy who went down in downtown New York City with a rifle and shot up these executives at Blackstone. Yeah. There's a guy who shot up these executives at Blackstone. And you'd be like, wait, Marcus, I thought it was some guy that was trying to go after the NFL. First of all, let's be very clear. They lied. And nobody can tell me otherwise. Okay? Because what happened, I'm going to tell you my whole thought process, and I'll walk you through my thought process. They said, oh, there's a shooting. There's shooting by the NFL and Blackstone offices. And it's right down there. And I said, you know what? I said, maybe it's one of those guys that has a traumatic brain injury that was in the NFL that wants them to do more stuff on that. Now, if you guys don't know, they did a whole thing where the NFL now has to put money into the traumatic brain injury research and stuff like that because of this one football player that nixed himself a couple years ago, where he shot himself in the chest with a shotgun, and he was left a note that said, "Examine my brain." So now that was my original thought. I said, oh, well, maybe that's what happened, So, but then come to find out, the people that only got shot were the people that were the security guard, and then two people that work for Blackstone. Like, are you serious? The people that work for Blackstone, and one is an executive. I said, the way that man, if you go back and look at the photos and the videos of this guy, so he just saunters in there, bro. Like, he's just walking ever so calmly, rifle out in public, chilling. He's just walking. Homeboy knew where he was going. And they're like, oh, well, he got off on the 33rd floor. Apparently, it's the 33rd floor. I need double verification of that. If any of you guys can, was it the 33rd floor? Okay, for sure. Because that also opens up a whole bunch of other questions when you go down that rabbit hole of the 33. But the thing is he went specifically to that floor and then shot the executive. One of the executives there. Now, if you guys don't know about Blackstone, Blackstone is a massive, massive property holder. They hold so many, the vast majority of American homes are owned by them. They're one of the largest real estate companies in the world. They own the most homes in America. Okay. Why do they own them? Because if they own them, they're not individuals that are owning them, because they're renting them all out, because they want you to own nothing and be happy. This is what all part of a much larger agenda. So I guarantee you that Blackstone just bought a whole bunch of stuff out where this guy was living. Okay, so by where this guy was living, they bought up a whole bunch of property and stuff like that. Either that is a direct personal grievance with them as being Blackstone, or somebody hired him to take them out. One of the two, maybe a combination of both. But to say that, oh, well, he went there and they found some note about him being mad at the NFL, and he ain't never been in the NFL. He's mad at the NFL. He's never been in the NFL because allegedly he had traumatic brain injury because of playing football in high school. Stop playing in my face. That's what these people do. They play in your face. They make all of these falsehoods up, and it's crazy. And we need to have this conversation because Blackstone is a behemoth and it is a monster. You guys, it is a monster that is destroying our nation, that is robbing people of the ability to have homes. When they say that we have a housing crisis, it's because of large industrial level landowners and property owners like Blackstone, and nobody will say anything about it. You're not about to sit here and play in my face that this guy took out 2 people that work for Blackstone, one being an executive, okay? And it was by mistake. He shot the wrong people. He meant to go to the floor for the NFL. Don't play in my face. Whose face are you playing in? Who's stupid? I'm not stupid. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't make no sense. Okay? Homeboy got out there and sauntered in there with a rifle. You understand what I'm saying? All broad daylight, full display. You could see it. Like it wasn't even like the rifle was like tan and stuff like that, and like tan and black and stuff. So you could see it, right? Like it wasn't like he was trying to conceal it. He's just walking straight with it. You mean to tell me somebody that's got that much gumption to drive across the country to come shoot some people gonna go to the wrong floor? Now you and I both know that the NFL, at the NFL office, they got NFL plastered all over the place. You think he saw the Blackstone logo and he just decided, oh, well, that's the NFL too? I mean, he might have brain injuries, but he's not retarded. Like, what are we talking about? But again, this is how these people that control the media really, really, really try to make stuff actually different than what it is. And I want you guys, please check that out and see if that really was the 33rd floor, because that's what I'm hearing, that it was the 33rd floor. I saw it in print in a couple of newspapers and stuff like that. And that's a whole, again, 33, that's a whole another rabbit hole to go down. But it's crazy. So we have seen so much go on in our country. Looks like we got a comment here. Let's see this comment. Let's see. Colleen says something. Charlotte, New York history. Try that. We existed in New York long before the city of Rochester. Yeah, I'm familiar with that, Colleen. Thank you for that addition. So we've got so much going on in our country right now that it's really hard to keep pace, because something's happening every couple of moments, every couple of seconds, and they do it repetitiously over and over and over again so that we can't keep up. Now, one of the most important things, and I think that this is a crucial thing to understand, Thune, okay, the head of the Senate, Thune, okay, Republican, the head of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, okay, they set it up so that Trump can't get any recess appointments, because the recess appointments, I believe, will go for a couple years out if they get the recess appointments. Okay, this is a problem, or not, maybe not a couple years out. Maybe it's till the next session of Congress. It doesn't matter, but it'd be for a while. Okay, and once you get in the recess appointment, you're most likely going to stay there anyway, unless they try to move you out with the next presidency, right? But this is something that they've stopped Trump from being able to do. So they've set it up where he can't get any recess appointments because they don't want to recess the House and the Senate. So they don't want to recess Congress. Well, why would they do that? That sounds to me like they're actively working against the agenda of Trump that Trump has been put in there to serve. So that's something that we really need to identify, because you guys listen to me all the time. I'll tell you, at the top of the pyramid, they are all the same and they do not have your best interest at heart, because all of everything that they're about is their own self-interest. Okay. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. Democrats, Republican, it's all the same at that level. Okay. They don't care. They care about themselves. It's a few, very few people that actually care about our people over their own subsistence, some word like that. You know what I'm talking about. Not subsistence, it's subsistence, something like that. I forget how to say that word. But anyway, it's very important that we understand that these people are there for empowering the government, not empowering the citizens. If they really cared, they would have let Trump get his recess appointments. Again, he wanted to put Thune in there. So him, Lindsey Graham, and Mike Johnson, again, I like the concept that Mike Johnson is a constitutional law person and all of that, and he's a he calls himself a conservative. I don't like the way that he's been moving since he got in there. I'd really like to catch up to him in his face, because I got some questions to ask him directly. I don't like a lot of the moves that he's been making, and there's also times when I felt like he's weak. I mean, he's no what was that guy's name? Paul Ryan. He's better than Paul Ryan, but I mean, gee golly gosh, it don't take a lot to be better than Paul Ryan. Okay, Paul Ryan is a piece of garbage. Okay, nobody can convince me otherwise. I watched his he wrote a book, right? It's like what was it? Restore America or Reform America or some American Restoration was what it was, I believe. Anyway, he was talking about we need central bank digital currency and all of this other type of stuff, and we need to expand the surveillance state and all types of stuff. So that guy's trash. I'm glad they got him out of Congress. Okay. But anyway, let's see. At when we have these type of conversations, we need to bring it together cohesively. The government is not your friend. You know, I shouldn't have to tell you that, but the government is not your friend. They don't care about you. They don't like you, and you don't matter to the government. Okay. The only place that you can actually find solace is that sometimes we'll get some candidates in certain offices that actually do care, that you do actually matter to and do have your best interests at heart. And the best way that you can be most impactful is to focus on getting active in your local level of whether it's city council or town council, whether it's what do you call it, fire district or school board or whatever. Pick what you want, but get involved. Maybe even get involved in a local political committee so you can actually see how the sausage is made. But once you see how stuff really starts to go, when you get involved in politics, even just paying attention and learning more, you'll see that it's a whole bunch of shisty, shady nonsense, and it's not the way that you or I perceive that America should operate. That's why more of us normal citizens that really care about our country have to get active. And it's not just about when these people are running for office and voting for them. It's about when they're in office, holding them accountable. You know, the part of the First Amendment that people often overlook is the right to redress your grievances with your government. That is very, very, very important. And I'll give you an example. Here where I live, in our county ledge, you can't even say the name of a county legislator, and that's a violation of the First Amendment. What do you mean I can't redress my grievances with a member of the thing at speak to the legislature? That's a violation. Somebody needs to sue them over it. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I don't have the money for it to do it. Otherwise, I would definitely sue them. You know, I might have to look into getting my law degree just to do it, because all of these unconstitutional acts that they're doing here, even in my local level, in my county, in my city, it's unconstitutional, and it violates our basic rights and our God-given rights and our liberties and freedoms, and nobody's standing up. But this is why you got to get involved, you guys. And if I can leave you with one thing this day today, get involved locally. Get involved locally. Polly says, yes, redress your grievances. Yeah, you got to redress your grievances with your government, because they just do whatever they want to, and there's no accountability. They're not holding themselves to account. You know, in New York State, that the assembly can only investigate the assembly. No outside body can investigate the assembly. So when is there ever going to be any accountability for any of the wrongdoing that they're doing to our citizens? Never. 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 How you monitor your own self? That's like the police policing the police. You know, that's like the city council having oversight over the city council. How are you the only person that can hold yourself accountable? These are problems. That's why we have to actually redress our grievances with these people. So I encourage you, take heart. Remember that you need to be the change that you want to see. If you want something change in your local government, get active. If you want something change on the national level, get active. It has to be up to us. Okay, if it has to be, if you want it to be, it's got to be up to you. It's got to be up to me. We got to get this stuff together. Polly says all politics is local politics, and that is a fact, Jack. I'll catch you guys later. Remember, thank you for tuning in. Catch our show next week, 2:30 to 4 p.m. If you're listening to us on the radio, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, the Marcus C. Williams channel. Just search The Divide with Marcus C. Williams on YouTube. You'll find us. And if you're watching us online, make sure you're following and share this video out. I'll catch you guys later. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. I'll catch you later. All right, you guys. I'll see you later. Make sure that you get out there, get active, and please do your best to follow up with what's going on in the news, because I don't always have enough time to tell people what's going on the way that I would like to. Our show isn't long enough. We don't have enough airtime. I'm working on a couple of other things so I can have more time to tell you guys about the different things that are going on. But there are so many things that don't make headlines in our country. And that's not even to talk about internationally, because we don't know anything that's going on internationally. You really kind of got to dig into stuff to figure out what's going on internationally, because there's just so much and it doesn't get covered here in the US. You know, you might hear about, oh, the Ukraine war, oh, the stuff going on in Gaza, which apparently is all the rage in the news right now. Somebody's got to explain that to me, because they're like, oh man, everybody over there is starving and stuff now. All of a sudden, you care all of a sudden? That sounds like a okey doke right there. It sounds like there's something going on there. Somebody's up to something with that, but we won't find out for another couple years. So you guys, we got to stay privy to what's going on. Make sure you check your international news. Make sure you stay up and follow me, and I'll catch you guys later, okay? And be encouraged, okay? Be encouraged. Do not lose heart. We can make a difference as individuals. And I believe in you, and you matter to me. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well.